Welcome. My name is Mike Martinez, and I am a licensed and bonded public adjuster. And today I want to go over 4 points that will help you determine, you the homeowner, whether you have a verifiable claim, whether you should even go through the process of calling your insurance company. And this is important before you actually take the step of picking up the phone and calling your insurance company, because every time you pick up the phone, give your name and your address, you're automatically going to generate a claims number. And that's going to go on your insurance history, whether you get paid or not, whether they say, we talk a lot about, how the industry is working these days and how many people are getting denied. And you don't want a denial on your claim, on your history, because it's going to show as a claim, right? Whether you get paid or not. And how that affects you is that every year when they renew you, if you got too many of these, of these claims that actually weren't claims, that you were just calling up and you were reporting something, but it actually didn't turn out to be a claim, they kind of use that to evaluate you as a risk. And so you want to be cognizant of that. But today we're going to talk about four things that you need in order to effectively place a claim, right? And have the odds in your favor as to whether you're going to win this or not, as to whether you're going to settle or not. And this is important. Again, I am a licensed and bonded public adjuster, and I get a lot of homeowners that call with these type of questions. So I'm just kind of giving you a heads up what you need, and if you decide that still you want somebody to represent you, I'm more than happy to represent you. But even before you call, you'll be educated enough to say this is a claim or this isn't a claim. So let's start with the process. The first thing that you need in order to put a claim is you got to be familiar with your policy. Now, I understand that, you may have 18, 19, 20, 25 pages in your policy, depending on how comprehensive your policy is. And a lot of that is written in legal jargon. So a lot of it you're not going to understand. It's very, some lawyers don't understand, right? But you will know certain things, and you should know certain things, like, for instance, what is your deductible, right? You should know what your policy says your deductible is, because that's coming right off the top. Let's say you have $1,000 deductible, and your damage is, maybe $1,200 worth of damage. That means you're only really going to get $200 worth of a claim, if that much. A lot of times they will try to discourage you from even getting that much, but you might want to consider, does it make sense, right? Does it make sense to carry on just to get $200 out of the deal? May not make sense, right? The other thing is that in some cases, and we've seen this more and more over the last few years, that you get deductibles that are percentage based instead of a fixed deductible. A fixed deductible could be $500 or it could be $1,000, right? A percentage based deductible is a deductible where they give you a percentage. All right, you're going to pay 2%. And you say to yourself, well, 2% is not that bad. But that's 2% of what? That's the question, right? And it's 2% of your dwelling value. So when you look at your policy, in the very first 2 or 3 pages, you're going to see some values there that say A, B, C, and D. And A is going to be dwelling. B is going to be outside structures. C is going to be personal property, and D is going to be loss of use. But the dwelling is the first one, and what that basically means is that if, God forbid, you had a catastrophic loss, whatever that dwelling value is, let's say it's $200,000, just for the sake of argument and to make it simple, then you have, they'll pay you $200 to rebuild your home. But if you're paying a 2% of that, now you're paying $4,000 as a deductible. And actually, I phrased that wrong, because you're not paying. It comes off of the top of what the settlement is. So if you're going to get a $5,000 settlement, but you got a 2% deductible, and your dwelling is worth $200,000, then $4,000 is what that is going to amount to. And again, you might want to reconsider based on how much the deductible is and how much you're getting back and things like that. Now, I understand that a lot of times homeowners overestimate how much repairs could be, and sometimes they underestimate. So it helps to have a professional do that for you. But either way, it's important for you to know what your deductible is. And by the way, if you do have a percentage deductible, you want to change that. You want to get a fixed deductible. And sometimes the insurance companies will push back in changing that. In other words, well, that's our policy and that's what we do now. And you have a choice there. You can go to another insurance company, or you can, continue to fight to get the deductible that you want. And sometimes what you're going to see is that they're going to ask you to pay, your premium is going to change some, right? But here's the bottom line. I mean, I've seen it for as little as $40 or $50 more a year. They'll take you from a 2% deductible back to $1,000 deductible. And does that make a difference between $1,000 or $4,000 if your house is valued at $2,000? Absolutely, no doubt about it. In some situations, you're also going to find that a deductible applies for special events, which is like a wind event or a hurricane. So you'll have a regular deductible, and then you'll have an additional deductible of, whatever it is. It could be, most of the times it's a percentage, and that is if you got a wind event that causes damage to your house, or a hurricane that causes damage to your house, then that deductible applies. So these are all things that you should keep in mind as you are looking at whether you should put a claim out there or not. So number one, know your policy. Get familiar with your policy as best as you can. Again, there's a lot of legal jargon there, and you probably won't understand most of it. But some of these simple things, like the deductible, like whether it's a fixed deductible or a variable percentage deductible. And variable is because every year that deductible is going to be changing, right? As the price of materials go up, your policy is going to go up accordingly, and the value of your dwelling is going to go up accordingly, and that deductible is going to change. So that's why a fixed deductible is much, much better. So the first thing is to know your policy. The next thing is to have a date in which the event occurred. A lot of times people call their insurance company and they say, I got a roof leak. Okay, when did you start noticing that? I don't know. I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. That's not a good answer, right? Oh, I noticed it last Christmas. Not a good answer. Oh, it's been like that for a couple of years. Terrible answer, right? You got to be able to give them a specific date. Hey, 3 weeks ago when we had that storm, I noticed that some of the shingles in my roof were missing, and I noticed, some water seeping in, or I got a water stain in my ceiling that I didn't have before. Now you got a specific date, and that is critically important to prove your claim. And a lot of times when you're asking or when you're stating this and you're calling your insurance company, some of the things that you're going to hear is, when did you first see this, right? And if you don't know how to answer that, it's not a good thing for you. You got to have your ducks in line, and you got to be specific about these things. Now, in addition to when that happened, that's called the date of loss. You also need to have an event that created the loss, right? You can't go and say, hey, I just saw this stain in my ceiling above my, in my dining room area. Well, how did that happen, Mr. Homeowner? I have no clue. That's not a good answer. You got to have a clue. And if you don't have a clue, you gotta find somebody, a contractor or a plumber that can go and see, because they're not going to pay you if you don't know where the damage originated from. Very key point, guys. And it's important that if you want to get a claim, that you are clear on these things, because they're going to ask you, right? And if you're vague, if you're not clear, if you don't know what you're talking about, you're not going to get the claim. They're going to deny it, and it's going to be harder to prove later, right? So these are one of the things you need to have in line. You need to have these things lined up. And finally, what I want to share with you is what was damaged. So, okay, we go back to that incident where 3 weeks ago, I got my date, 3 weeks ago on the 12th of whenever, we had a storm, and the storm blew some shingles off my roof, and now water came into my attic and it seeped down into my ceiling, and I got a drip now, and the drip fell on the floor, and now I got damage to my floor. So you need to have these things in place if you're going to launch a successful claim. All very, very important, guys. Now, as a public adjuster, obviously what I'm giving you is a preliminary evaluation of what your claim, how your claim should be described. But the fact of the matter is, and this is what I'm going to tell you is critically important, is that ideally you want to have a professional go over this, because you're going to be asked questions, and a lot of times they're very strategic in the questions that they ask, and sometimes they're very vague questions, and you don't know how to answer, but you answer to the best of your ability and to the best of your honesty, but yet you're a little vague, you're not clear on the question or the answer, and you give them something that they can use against you in the future to deny your claim. Every time you call your insurance company, the call is being recorded. You must be aware of that, because everything you say can and will be used against you. It's like the Miranda Rights, right? When you get arrested by a cop, everything you say, you got the right to remain silent. Everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. They tell you when you call, oh, for training purposes, we're doing this. But the fact of the matter is, if you say something that's going to derail your claim, they will use that to point back at it. Hey, when you called, we got you on record saying this and this, right? And this is why it's critical that you are very careful of how you answer those questions, and even better, allow a professional, allow a public adjuster to do the call for you. And that way, you protect yourself to the maximum of your ability, right? That's the most important thing. Again, my name is Mike Martinez, and there's a lot more involved. This right here, what I just gave you, is a simple 15-minute evaluation of how you're going to express your claim, or what you need to have lined up, what ducks you need to have lined up in order to initiate a claim. But there's a lot more involved, right? You need to know what type of materials were damaged. You need to know specific measurements. You need to know, how long those, if the floor was damaged and it's a wooden floor, how long has the floor been there, and how much wear and tear did it have? All these things come into play when it comes to an insurance claim. And if you don't know the answers, guys, it's important that you allow somebody that does know the answers to do these things, right? So very, very important. And you want to be able to do this with a professional by your side, so you don't make any mistakes. You don't step you don't shoot yourself in the foot and say the wrong thing, and you're able to maximize your policy to get the most out of it, right? So again, my name is Mike Martinez. You got my contact information. If you see that you meet all those qualifications, you understand your policy, and if you don't, I can help you go over that. But you have a date of an event. You have the date in which something occurred. You know what that event was, right? You need to know what was the genesis of that damage. And you need to know what the damage, what the damage contains, what is part of your damage. And again, I can help you with that also. But these are the preliminary things that you need in order to execute a proper claim. You're going to come across this, and if you don't, any one of those questions are not answered, you're not going to get a claim started, right? So they're going to deny you right off the bat. If you don't know what the damage is, they're going to say, oh, you don't have enough damage. It doesn't make sense for you, right? If you don't have a date, they're going to say it's that's probably wear and tear. If you don't know what started the event, they will not release no money, because what if the event happens again? You didn't correct it because you don't know what the event is. They won't even release money. But all these things need to be in place before you can do that. So that's what's critical for you. And again, I highly recommend, and again, I'm biased because I am a public adjuster, right? But you want somebody, there's certain times in life, guys, where you want a professional representing you. And this is one of those times, right? If you're a homeowner, experience damage, you don't want to just take this lightly. You want to go over and do the things that in reality are going to line you up to have a successful claim and to secure the highest possible settlement. You won't do that if you don't have these answers. And even if you have all of these answers, the next phase is critical also, which is what damage, what do we need to replace? And that's where you get a lot of homeowners stumble and they don't know, and they come out with a $2,000 or $3,000 check when in fact they should have gotten a whole lot more. And we see that quite often. So if you have an issue, pick up the phone, give me a call before you even call your insurance company. Pick up the phone and give me a call. Very important that you do. And you know what? I can go to your house, look at your policy, decipher some of that information, look at your damage, and tell you whether it makes sense or not, right? Because I have I have a better knowledge as to what it may entail and how much you may get back. I won't give you figures at that first meeting, but I'll be able to tell you, yes, it makes sense for you to do it, or no, it doesn't, right? And all of that is done at no cost to you. So Mike Martinez, pick up the phone, give me a call if you need my help. I'll be more than happy to assist you. We are a company that's been around for over 25 years, and we have the knowledge. The insurance companies know our name, so they know where they can, where they stand with us, and they know our experience. So again, Mike Martinez, if you need my help and you can use my help in deciphering whether this is an actual claim for you, pick up the phone, give me a call. If you've been denied over the last 12 months with an insurance claim because you didn't have these things lined up, you didn't have them, and you called your insurance company and you were denied, give me a call. Let's see if we could reopen that and see if I can represent you. So hope to hear from you soon. Mike Martinez, take care. Give me a call if I could be of service to you. Thank you.